For more on U.S. debt ceiling and implications, I'm joined live via Skype from downtown Washington, D.C. by Paul Nantulya, a research specialist with the Africa Center for Strategic and International Studies. Paul, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much, Esther. It's, as usual, great to be back on your show.
Definitely. Now, Paul, just the thought that the United States could run out of money creates a lot of panic right here at home and abroad. Should we be concerned?
Yes, it's always a concern. This is the 78th time that you've had these negotiations and the prospect of a default. So yes, it is frightening. Potentially, Moody's Analytics tells us that $15 trillion, if there's a default, $15 trillion could be wiped out of household wealth. So it is frightening, especially coming out of COVID. Everybody was very nervous about a recession, and now that nervousness is now coming back into play. So it's not a good thing at all.
So what happens then if they do not reach an agreement?
Well, basically, it could affect the U.S. Credit rating. The U.S. credit rating has always been very, very solid. That's the first thing. Secondly, it could potentially trigger a recession. That nobody wants to experience that. Thirdly, it could dampen confidence in the U.S. economy so soon after the COVID pandemic, which really damaged parts of the U.S. economy as well as the global economy. It's never a good thing if the U.S. cannot pay its bills. Okay, in 2011, everybody remembers government workers were followed. When government workers are followed, that makes it difficult for the government to conduct business, such as issuing visas, processing asylum claims, processing Social Security. So, yeah, it's a potentially frightening scenario.
You say it's frightening, but we have to work on the possibilities here. Now, what if the U.S. defaults on its debt? What impact would that have, say, on the African continent and the larger global economy?
My goodness, it would have an impact on the economy, on the global economy. First of all, U.S. Treasuries. U.S. Treasuries are basically the most valued asset internationally. Holding U.S. Treasuries is a sure way, that you're going to get your money back. And when that is affected, the global economy is affected. Now, for emerging economies, it's bad news because in case there's a default, what's going to happen is households and consumers inside the United States are not going to have the money to purchase imports from Africa. That's a very bad thing. It's also very bad for the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which allows African countries duty-free access to the U.S. economy in terms of textiles. Suddenly, you're going to find that you're not going to be able to find purchasers, right, that will be able to take these imports. So that will have a damaging effect on African economies. African economies depend very, very heavily on exports, and the U.S. is a very attractive market for that.
Quickly, Paul, what comes to mind? We saw African countries come to ask the IMF to restructure their debts, forgive their debts. Which are the hardest hit countries? Maybe 3 in Africa?
Well, you're talking Zambia right now. You're talking potentially Kenya. You're talking Ghana, and you're talking Ethiopia. These are some of the highly indebted countries, that have been trying to negotiate debt restructuring, right, with their creditors, including China. These are some of the countries that are in trouble. Potentially the Democratic Republic of Congo as well, right? Things have not been going well for that country, despite the fact that it has all these commodities that the rest of the world needs. Now, if there is a problem in the U.S. economy, those countries that I've just mentioned, including other countries that are kind of approaching debt distress, become even more complicated, right? Becomes more complicated. So everybody in Africa is hoping that a solution is found and found very quickly before the 1st of June.
Thank you so much, Paul.
You're very welcome.